So Vivek Ramaswamy, a fast-talking Republican presidential candidate, has now, I think, obtained something like 8% polling in the Iowa caucus, which is tomorrow, Monday, January 15th, 2024. And as we have repeatedly stated on this particular stream, Agent X kind of led the charge on this. Vivek has long been associated with Martin Shkreli. And Martin Shkreli, in our view, in my view at least, engaged in, proper behavior. The DOJ's insertion into his private business was really just used because of social justice and political reasons. But mostly social justice, because there was a lot of patients who got upset when the price of Daraprim, which was the main drug that is involved with kind of a package of drugs associated with HIV when they got upset that they had to pay, $50 more per month or something. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was something like that. And then suddenly the DOJ swept in. And then, of course, Shkreli's criticism of Hillary Clinton didn't really help his position in that particular case. So anyways, how does that relate to Vivek? Ramaswamy? Everybody's coming out now because of this video that we should play kind of at the opening here. Let's play it. So Vivek, he's a fast-talking con man. That's all he is. There's no way that at 38 years old that you can make $1 billion without cheating, deceiving, lying, and he has done all of that in his tenure as the CEO of Roivant, which is the drug company that he supposedly founded.
And they will stop at nothing, but we're not going to let him get away with it. I've got fresh legs. I'm not wounded. And they're not going to let this man do it.
You know what?
This is why
that gave me a chill.
So the argument that Ramaswamy is making here is that because Trump has been indicted and is dealing with all these legal issues, effectively lawfare, which we've widely covered, and because Ramaswamy has not been prosecuted yet. I mean, just wait. I bet you in, 6, 7, 8 months' time, under Biden's DOJ, Ramaswamy will probably get indicted. And they'll call him Farmer Bro 2.0 or something. That's kind of what I'm predicting. But when it comes to arguments like this, when he's trying to win this Iowa caucus and gain prominence in the Republican Party, he is saying, well, Trump is dealing with all this lawfare and I'm not, quote, wounded. And so therefore I'm a better candidate. Plus, I think the argument that he's making is that if he theoretically were to win the Republican nomination and then ultimately become president after beating Joe Biden, unless Joe Biden is replaced by someone like Gavin Newsom, which is probably going to happen, that he could pardon President Trump. But there's a logical fallacy there because, these tyrants always go too far. And that's their Achilles heel. In this situation, as you're seeing, the Democrats not only indicted President Trump on a federal level, but they went after him in Georgia and New York. So there's no way that Vivek would be able to pardon President Trump and then absolve President Trump of all these legal issues. It's just not going to happen. Even if there's congressional pressure from the Judiciary Committee or even the Oversight Committee on some of these state functions, and now you can see that the Judiciary Committee is getting involved with subpoenaing Nathan Wade down in Georgia, the special prosecutor. And I think they're trying to apply some collateral pressure to Fani Willis.
Because you think it's false or because you think it's true?
I think it's true.
So Ramaswamy here is really manipulating this woman. And it's sad to see. And again, I mean, we called this from the very start. As soon as Ramaswamy came out and said that he was running for the Republican nomination, I mean, we called it right away that he was, he makes Martin Shkreli look like a saint. He makes Martin Shkreli look like a fucking saint. Is what I really wanted to title this particular stream as.
I think they will stop at nothing to stop them. Stop Trump.
It's sad, but it's the truth.
So that is true,
sad,
though.
But it's the truth. So I'm asking.
And that's what you're seeing. Obviously, it's what everybody's seeing, that they will do everything in their power to stop President Trump from becoming president. And you can see what they did to me. soft criticism of some of these operatives, they'll fabricate evidence. They'll try and raid your house. They'll, they wildly, they engaged in some very serious and wild misconduct. And all this is going to come out in a federal lawsuit that's going to be filed. However, they're concealing all this, and they want to conceal it for as long as they possibly can. So it's just a matter of time before we figure out what their next battle plans are for what they intend to do to, God forbid, try and prevent President Trump from becoming president. And the thing is, this is where it is good versus evil. And Ramaswamy is manipulating this woman for his own narcissism, for his own benefit, because he wants to become the Republican nominee. But the whole issue here is that Ramaswamy is saying that he alone can stop this. Let's go to Dom Lucrez. So this is a Ramaswamy tweet, presumably from earlier today, where he says, "I've met tens of thousands of Iowans across 390 events. And they're deeply worried, and so am I, that this system won't allow Donald J. Trump anywhere near the White House again. It seems that they will stop at nothing to keep him away from power." And there's a logical fallacy in this, because the only one who can hammer through this right now is the man in the hot seat, President Trump himself. If this were to happen to Ramaswamy, which it very well could, again, probably in the next 6 to 8 months, you think Ramaswamy would have the willpower to fight through this? Of course not. Of course not. He would fail so quickly. He would fold like a folding chair, and he would probably take some sort of plea deal, or he would allow himself to be extorted or blackmailed, whatever it is, into some sort of globalist policy. And this is what you see. And I really don't want to sound racist here, but I've worked with so many Indians that are here on H-1Bs. And Ramaswamy's parents are H-1B / specialized visa immigrants originally when they came in, before they became citizens. That's how they originally got here. That's how, if Ramaswamy was born here, if he was born in Ohio or wherever he was born, he's a citizen, but he's a citizen of immigrants. And he comes from a different culture. I'm telling you, these Indians all operate under the same sort of kiss-ass sort of culture. They'll tell you one thing to your face, and then weeks later, and of course, many, many people are like this, but I tell you one thing, I've worked with a lot of good people, and loyalty is something that you'll find in a small number of people. And I've never seen it. I've never seen it with one H-1B visa Indian that I've ever worked with in my entire life. They'll tell you one thing to your face, they'll kiss your ass, and then behind your back, they're talking shit about you. They'll try and backstab you. And, they'll do anything to undermine your efforts if they really want to. And so you're seeing this private conversation play out between Ramaswamy and this woman who's being manipulated here. And look, this woman is a little bit older. She seems smart. She seems well-spoken. But Vivek is a 38-year-old guy. To her, he's probably, an attractive candidate. And so she's sort of being victimized here by this rhetoric and this sort of manipulative lying that Ramaswamy is providing to her. Oh man, I screwed up the timestamp here. We'll just play it from the start again.
They are.
They're scared of Trump.
Oh,
they are scared.
And they will stop at nothing, but we're not going to let them get away with it. I've got fresh legs. I'm not wounded. And they're not going to let this man.
See how he looks away though? Do you see how he looks away when he said, "I'm not wounded"? As if he's like looking through this woman, like he doesn't care about this woman. You ever notice that? You walk in, or people you know or whatever, people you've known for a long time, or people at work, or maybe a boss, maybe I don't know, maybe it's just someone you meet out in public, and they kind of like look through you, or they look away right when you're talking, or right when they're talking, as if you're not important. That's exactly what Ramaswamy just did here. And that's a strong signal.
When you
This
said
is why I
eliminate,
don't-
that gave me a chill. Because I'm scared.
Because you think.
They said that Hitler used to do that. He would look through people as if he really didn't care about them. So it's one thing to make eye contact and like focus on what people are saying, or even being kind of cloudy. Like sometimes I'm a little bit cloudy. I just kind of like, I listen. But I have always tried my best not to look through people. And that's a sign of a narcissist. And it's a sign of, in these positions where people are theoretically essentially kind of powerful, like maybe Ramaswamy is, and is in a position to gain even more power, that's dangerous. Because I'm not saying that that's like the one thing, but it's just like an intuitive thing. In your heart whether someone actually is listening to you, and if they care about you, and if there's a lot of people I frankly don't care about, but those are people who have wronged me. This is just a regular woman showing up to a campaign event.
Think it's false, or because you think it's true?
I think it's true. Yeah. I think they will stop at
It is-
nothing to stop.
He's a douchebag.
Stop Trump.
It's sad, but it's the truth.
This is how he was able to manipulate so much money out of these startup investment funds, and then become a quote billionaire by the time he was like 35 or something. 33.
It's the sad, but it's the truth. So I'm asking you, do your part, and we're gonna.
When I
We can
do
do
these
this.
polls,
We
when I
can do this.
poll,
Yeah.
They say, "How do you feel about the United States?" And I say, "I'm worried and I'm fearful."
My job that you don't have to feel that way in this country.
But we're losing it.
We're losing
it.
It pains
And
me
we
to
need
hear
people.
that.
We need people like you. Young,
We're gonna do this,
vibrant.
and that's what our founding fathers were.
Yes.
It's 1776 moment soon. I want your support at that Iowa caucus.
I get emotional.
Dude, Ramaswamy said that is what our founding fathers thought. Okay, Vivek is from India. I mean, were there any Indians here in 1776? Of course not.
I'm emotional about
And I shouldn't even be talking, because it was mostly like English and Irish, basically, where you're mostly just English, and some French too. So I really shouldn't be talking about that either. But it's still, it's just kind of a obscene comment.
this country. I need your support on Monday night. You do this, I'm going to do my part.
Okay, you're picking at my shell. You are.
Yeah.
But I've got
It's about
commitments.
this
You can tell he's just lying to this woman.
country. It's about this country. You want to save Trump, you vote for me. I'm telling you that.
So I don't understand how voting for Vivek would save Trump, other than the pardon issue, but we just went over that. There's no way that Vivek could apply any amount of pressure or anything. He has no control over states to pardon defendants in any proceeding. So it just is, it's a logical fallacy, but more importantly, it's extremely conniving.
You vote for Trump. You're sending him.
He's a sledgehammer.
No, but you're sending him to his own demise.
You know, so this woman said that Trump is a sledgehammer. And just like I'm a hammer in exposing a lot of the corruption that I've been able to do, thankfully, you know, because of whatever reason. And I've always viewed myself as a hammer. That's what I am. And the fact that this woman said that President Trump is a sledgehammer, the only one who can save Donald Trump, well, I should say there's two, well, you can't even call one a person. There's two sort of things that can save President Trump. One is God, and then the second is President Trump himself. Ramaswamy is not going to be in a position, the fact that he's trying to sell this argument to this woman tells you, and it's just like, it's Farmer Bro 2.0 kind of behavior.
You're falling into the trap that not only a country's falling in, that he's falling. You want to save Trump, you vote for me. I need your support of the Iowa caucus.
Trap.
That's a good argument. That's a good argument.
It's not a good argument.
Do the
And
right
it's not the
thing
truth.
for this country. That's what I'm asking you for.
I will consider.
Thank you.
That's the first time
For
I've
this
ever
country.
said that, by the way. Because the others.
No, forget that. But that's the truth. And
I mean, this is like your average Iowa voter right here. This is like your average middle-aged American woman.
and I think you know it.
Also about Trump.
But this is, yes.
And you can see that she's got such a good heart, right?
Yes, this is the truth.
You can
and
see the
what I
best
just
in
told
that
you, I think
woman.
You know that
And then you can see Ramaswamy manipulating.
in your heart to be true. Do the right thing on Monday. That's what I'm asking you for. Thank you. Thank you.
Douchebag. All right, so let's go back to let's play this video.
Clips of him giving it to the man and calling out the establishment all over social media. Skyrockets from unknown to top of the Republican polls. And I understand.
Does that seem reasonable for Ramaswamy to come out of nowhere and to skyrocket? Because, you know, like, even I was talking about this earlier. I was telling a story with President Trump. I mean, look, every single American has known about Donald Trump for, I don't know, 40 years, 30 years, probably 40 years. When I was a kid, we had this board game. It's called like the Donald Trump board game. And it was kind of like Monopoly. Also had the book, Art of the Deal, when I was younger. Trump was on TV. Would go on Larry King Live. And it was always typically, like, you know, back in those days, pretty positive coverage for Donald Trump. Puff pieces everywhere. I remember a couple interviews with Trump saying that he was both at times very wealthy and also extremely poor because he went through a bankruptcy. And, you know, Trump was sort of always on the radar. And it took Trump a long time. And I think Trump ran for president in the Democrat Party in the 80s or 90s. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. Maybe Roger Stone had convinced him to at least try to run, and it didn't actually come to fruition. However, everybody knew about Trump, right? Everybody in the country. And people were, you know, probably neutral. And, you know, so when, and then, you know, we had The Apprentice, which really raised the visibility into President Trump. because that really put, I think, President Trump in prime time, in his prime, or maybe even a little bit past President Trump's like business prime. Because I think Trump was maybe in his late 50s, early 60s during periods of that. You know, your prime is usually what, like 45 to 53. So I'm just talking about averages. I'm not saying that Trump didn't appear to be not in his prime. I'm just saying averages. So, you know, it takes a long time for people to become that well known. And for Ramaswamy here to come out of nowhere, right? Like, oh my God, who's this 38-year-old guy? I mean, he went to Harvard, he went to Yale Law School. Who is he? He's a fast talker. He gets up on stage and he just yells and talks about, you know, the success he's had with his pharmaceutical company. And, you know, to me, it just, you think about it and it just seems like intuitively kind of a scam. I mean, at least Trump's honest in saying that like all of his money originally came from his father. And, you know, you can understand that. And then Trump maintained, you know, the Trump organization, the Trump empire, yada, yada, yada. And people have criticized that pretty roundly and pretty heavily throughout the years, and saying that, you know, Trump, with the amount of money that was originally given to him, should have been a lot wealthier, and, you know, all kinds of other, like, who cares, really? Who cares? I actually don't care about money at all. Money is not important to me. And I don't really think it's important to a lot of people. We need money to live. We need money to buy things. Money is, it's useful to do things. And so when you see this Ramaswamy come out of nowhere with like $3 billion, $2 billion, whatever he's worth, right? Maybe even $1 billion. I don't know. He's younger than me. I think he's like 3 years younger than me. And I've known pretty exceptional people, and they've never been able to get their hands on that amount of money. And I've worked as a software developer in banking, and I've seen a lot of loans in my life. I've seen a lot of mortgages. When I worked at Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, I saw it's the largest servicer in the nation, probably the entire world. I mean, I just saw tons, like every day, hundreds, thousands of mortgages. And I just, you know, I worked at Wells Fargo recently too, on the largest lending platform in the country, probably the world. I don't know. It's just a retail lending platform. And I mean, we kind of had, we had sample data based on production data. So we could see kind of what some of these loans were, like what the total amount loaned was and all that junk. You just don't come out of nowhere and make that amount of money. I've never seen it before. Yeah, we had Mark Zuckerberg, we had you know, even Elon Musk. I mean, even though Elon Musk is extraordinarily wealthy, it took Elon Musk a long time to gain that wealth. Like, I remember, again, I've known a lot about Elon Musk since the days when he founded PayPal. And the PayPal Mafia with Peter Thiel. So Elon Musk, you could make the argument that he came out of nowhere originally, but it's still been a long time. And when you see people like Ramaswamy show up like this, there's like a red flag, I think, that goes off. So,
and why? He says what we all want to hear. End the war, secure the border, drain the swamp, unity, freedom, truth. Which outlets are considered untrustworthy propaganda media? MSNBC, Business Insider, AP, Forbes, the New York Times, the New Yorker, Huffington Post, Axios, Politico, just to name a few. The mouthpiece of the establishment. Then why are they all so supportive of Vivek? Doesn't make sense. How is he considered anti-establishment when he's supported by the establishment. If you or I were to say some of the anti-woke things he says, we would be shadow banned. But
Yeah,
somehow,
exactly.
he's
That's a good
trending on
point.
every single
That's such a
major
good
social
point.
media platform. Prior to politics, he was a hedge fund manager.
That is
His claim
such a
to
good
fame
point.
was
I
a
love that.
pharmaceutical
So, and
startup company called
this guy Nan Lee too. I mean, he's Korean or Asian, whatever, probably Korean, and he is saying that some of the things that Vivek has said, that would cause a lot of people to get banned. And you would think that Nan Lee, who's a Korean, could also say those things and not be banned because he is a minority, but he's also saying that he would get banned. So that's also another red flag here. And, the Indians, I've worked primarily with Indians doing software related work in my professional life. And they are given preferential treatment to a large extent when it comes to work product, when it comes to, the work environment. And they're no different than any of the other illegal immigrants in terms of just their raw lack of understanding of how the United States operates and how it was founded and, all the nuances of American life.
called Roivant. In the 9 years it's been in business, it has never been profitable or delivered a working product. Although Roivant continues to fail their clinical trials, they were able to find investors and raise money, making Vivek an extremely wealthy entrepreneur. Good at convincing people to invest, poor at delivering product. And
Here's the other thing. So anybody who comes out of Harvard and then just makes a ton of money at a young age, you got to question, because those are all red flags, because typically they get set up. It's like, not the old boys network anymore. It's almost like the old Indian and Chinese boys network now, because they only give massive deals to those kinds of people now in today's environment. Whereas I think before, of course, with this whole white privilege nonsense, maybe it was a little more slanted towards traditional, Caucasian men who would get business deals and get set up and then work really hard because they got a bunch of investments or loans, whatever. So with Vivek, what you're seeing here is the fact that he's getting preferential treatment. That's the point I'm trying to make.
execution. Not a good sign. So
So
what
he's
about
getting
the money?
set up here
The media highlights
in
that
order to be
Vivek has invested
extraordinarily
over
successful.
$10 million of his own money to fund his campaign, an honorable feat. Vivek announced his run for presidency in February 2023. How long do you think it takes to make that decision and execute a plan? 6, 8 months? July 2022, the value of Roivant stock is just over $3 per share. On February 21st, 2023, Vivek announces his run for presidency, and on February 22, he sells 4 million shares for approximately $32 million at nearly $8 per share. Well over $15 million in profit in 6 months prior to him announcing presidency. Good for him, right? Make that money. Company is losing over $1 billion per year, but he got paid. Smart guy. But anytime things are just
Okay,
so
yeah, that's another
coincidental,
good point. He's saying that the company itself was losing money, yet as the CEO, he was paying himself a huge sum of money.
I'm forced to keep digging. Why did the stock price of an unprofitable, failing company rise over 100%?
Well, because he was getting money from startup friends. I think Peter Thiel even put some money into Roivant. But, and then the whole idea here is that the Daraprim fiasco with Martin Shkreli, where he raised the price of that drug 450% after buying the patent, is the same sort of thing that Ramaswamy did with a couple of these drugs. Like I think one was they talked about the bowel treatment drug that he bought the patents for like around $50 million, turned around and sold them for something like $7 billion to Roche. I don't know. It could be a different drug company, but he originally bought it from GlaxoSmithKline for $15 million, turned around and sold it for somewhere near $7 billion to, I think, Roche. And then there was another Alzheimer's drug that he had tried to get through the FDA approval process that ultimately failed. He was part of the Ohio COVID-19 response team. I mean, that's another red flag. And so he raised a price on a lot of these drugs that he originally bought, but he was trying to do it in a slightly different way by trying to basically be a patent troll in some ways by buying these things using investor money and then reselling them through this sort of like con man scheme where he is constantly using these sales tactics, these manipulative lies in order to convince other companies to then pay huge sums of money for something that he bought very low after very, very light value improvement to the underlying pharmaceutical drug or treatment.
How does it go from an all-time low to nearly its all-time high? Institutional money. You remember when Vivek said the financial investment giants like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard
See, here's the thing
represent
I like
arguably
about
the
Nan
most
Lee
powerful
too is you could tell he's not a natural speaker. Even guys or women who may not speak English as a first language or who are Korean, but they're like, you know, charismatic and they're like naturally good speakers. You can, you know, the thing I like about Nan Lee is you could tell he's not a gifted speaker. Similar to me, actually. So you can tell there's like some authentic piece to that. You know, you can tell that he's really done his research. He's giving you his true thoughts, his true opinions. And he doesn't care. I love it.
Cartel in human history? Well, guess who's on the list of institutional investment giants that started giving his company money 1 year ago? You want to guess? BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard.
Oh, okay.
All three have
So
added
BlackRock
to their positions in the last quarter.
Ramaswamy.
And Roviant, which Vivek still owns 7% share in, is now up over 3.
So BlackRock is pulling the strings with Vivek.
300% in the last year, making it worth close to $1 billion. During the Republican primary debate, Vivek vowed to end the teachers union. Guess who is also on this list of investors? California State Teachers Retirement System. Look,
all right.
His intentions may
So
be
he's
pure,
going to say one
and
thing.
this is
I wouldn't say he's a Manchurian candidate, but he's certainly controlled opposition for sure.
all a coincidence. Maybe there's a great explanation. However, I am not a financial
I'm telling you, man.
analyst.
I mean, like, look, Agent X told me this the moment that Ramaswamy came out of left field here.
Investigative reporter, but I was able to find all this out in a couple hours of sifting through publicly available data. Why is his connection to George Soros via a scholarship and his involvement in the Ohio COVID-19 response team scrubbed from Wikipedia?
Oh, there you go. See? I mentioned the COVID-19 response stuff because I knew that. And I think he went to like St. Xavier Francis or some prep school in Ohio. I'm probably butchering the name of his high school. And he was, you know, the valedictorian of it. It's a prep school, you know? They give out grades because you pay them a tuition price. It's grade inflation.
In 2021, he was named.
So he bought his way into Harvard. I'm not saying he's stupid. He's not, but he's tried to pull the levers and rig everything all the way through.
A young global leader by the World Economic Forum.
And,
2 years later,
and how you
after
compare
using-
that to someone like Nan Lee, and you can tell he's not. I mean, I don't know anything about Nan Lee, but just intuitively, he comes across as a very authentic person. He's not rigging anything. He's telling you what he truly thinks.
that title to raise investments for his company, he sued the WEF to remove his name.
See, that's also very questionable. Look, I've seen Vivek a lot on InfoWars lately. Alex Jones is giving him a ton of airtime. And I understand what Alex Jones is doing. Alex Jones is using his powerful rhetoric and his speaking ability to blow a even wider hole into this globalist policy regime. I get it. And then, I think Alex Jones is very aware of some of these issues that are being discussed here in Nan Lee's video. And I think Alex Jones might suspect that Vivek is controlled opposition. But is wisely using Vivek's admittedly, gifted speaking ability to try and blow a hole into this whole globalist regime of wars and trade pollution and all the other things that they're pulling on the world's populations. And then the moment that I think, for example, right now, when Trump goes after him, I think that's kind of when maybe Alex wants to stay out of it, but he's starting to see at least where Vivek lands in this BlackRock globalist scale, and the fact that he's he's about as far from a self-made billionaire as you possibly could get. He is he's been given every single path unblocked to that $1 billion. Whereas if that were anyone else, that were me, that were even if it was President Trump, every single road would be blocked and there would be 1,000 roads blocked. But suddenly all those roads become unblocked because Vivek Ramaswamy is an inside job, is controlled opposition, and they're throwing money at him and they're trying to make him successful because they want to give him this financial platform to thwart this America First movement that was sort of pioneered and innovated to some extent from a political vantage point, powerful enough to actually make a difference in this country. And the only reason that happened is because of President Trump. And so when Ramaswamy comes in here, that's to thwart all of that.
From the list. 3 months after that, he was able to settle with Klaus Schwab's WEF.
Okay, so the WEF stuff. So he sued apparently the WEF for defamation or something because they had put his picture up on their website. I don't know. It's questionable. I suspect. Plus, I think here's the other kicker. Vivek got some WEF scholarship to attend Yale Law School, which paid a partial amount of his law school tuition fees. Again, questionable. And maybe this is what it is traced back to, the fact that the World Economic Forum offered this scholarship that was taken by Vivek Ramaswamy to pay for his law school fees. And so the WEF putting Vivek up on their website is correct and proper. If I was the WEF, I would not have settled that lawsuit.
And receive a formal letter of apology. How do you sue what many may consider evil?
Well, because it's true, because he's been given money from the WEF.
The World Economic Forum.
And it's because the president is in many ways in control of laws in this country. I mean, you could say like the Attorney General is, we have, the judiciary as well. But the president plays a significant role in the legal structure of this country. And because Vivek had his law school tuition partially financed by the World Economic Forum, what does that mean? Does that mean that the legal apparatus and structure in this country is then going to be somewhat influenced by globalist World Economic Forum policy because that's what Vivek Ramaswamy is tapped into?
And win and get an apology letter in 3 months. He's either that good or, I don't know.
Well, that's another thing.
Any real journalist.
That's a good point. I mean, Nan Lee is really raising some very, very good points. Interesting that the lawsuit was settled so quickly in 3 months. Doesn't that seem suspicious? I mean, look, I have litigated a lot. I'm by no means a law firm or anything like that, but, I can't even get a motion granted in state court. To think that a lawsuit, and I'm talking about like extremely, extremely well-written motions. I mean, I could take a template off the internet written by Robbins Kaplan and then modify like 3 words in it and hand that in, file it as a motion, and it would still get denied. Yet all the roads are suddenly open for Vivek Ramaswamy to settle all these lawsuits and basically get whatever he wants in federal court. Makes absolutely no sense.
Or news outlet could have easily found out all this info, but they didn't. Real question is, why?
Yeah. Great points. Beware the wolf. Beware the wolf. All right. So just want to quickly go over these other stories and we'll shut the stream down. It's kind of getting late here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It turned $15 million into $5 billion by flipping a bowel disease treatment. That Pfizer gave it for free. Legit. Totally legit. Oh, yeah. Oh, Shkreli, who worked his ass off for Jim Cramer and then started this pharmaceutical company and was acting within the boundaries of ethical behavior, had, upped the price of Daraprim by 4,000%, which was a very, very low price drug. It was like a couple cents, actually. It was a couple pennies. So when the headline here, this is like a bullet point, but they're trying to say, oh yeah, he raised like, it was like a $500 drug and he raised it to like $2 million. He raised it from like 2 cents to $50. And then they're just trying to manipulate this headline to make it look far worse than it actually is. And the fact is that drug is worth somewhere in the range of $50. So it's insane. I mean, Shkreli was just doing what is, proper when something costs that amount of money. And, you can say what you want about Shkreli and what he did when they subpoenaed him and he had to show up to Congress and stuff. But I mean, like, yeah, he trolled them, but he did show up to Congress. That's more that you could say about maybe like Hunter Biden, who sat in the gallery to try and mock the oversight committee this last week. I mean, Shkreli actually fulfilled all of his duties and responsibilities. And you can't say the same about Hunter Biden. You can't say the same about Vivek Ramaswamy, who has kind of done the same thing or something very similar, but actually much worse than Shkreli did, and much more unethical. Here we go. And this is from Rothschild's own Financial Times. Vivek Ramaswamy's FDA corruption claim disavowed by Roivant. You can look here where, we got money too from SoftBank. Masayoshi Son gave Roivant $1 billion. That's nice to have, right? Call your friends up. Hey, I need $1 billion. I want to launch a business. Great. Fantastic. So, strings are being pulled everywhere for your boy Vivek. Here's the Alzheimer drug that failed. Interperdine. Waste of money. And then, as we started out here, Vivek Ramaswamy threw Shkreli under the bus after apparently investing in Turing Pharmaceutical, which was Shkreli's company, and saying that he is a pathological liar. Yeah. It's so interesting now that you see Ramaswamy be exposed as a pathological liar in supporting the MAGA, America First movement, and then try and effectively then throw President Trump under the bus with this Iowan here. So again, Vivek Ramaswamy makes Martin Shkreli look like a fucking saint.
Scared of you, just
They
like
are.
they're scared of Trump.
Oh,
they are scared.
And they will
of
stop
you.
at nothing, but we're not going to let them get away with it. I've got fresh legs. I'm not wounded. And
That's-
they're not
He
going to
doesn't have
let
fresh
this
legs.
man do it.
And for him to say that, too, is almost like very strange, right? For him to say that about President Trump, use those specific words in this exchange, it's very troubling. I'm telling you, it's almost like, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to say it. But, all of these things, I always think about things as sort of like in the abstract as symbolism, right? And for him to use those particular words in this exchange is very, very dangerous, and it's very, very troubling.
Because I'm scared.
Because you think it's false or because you think it's true?
I think it's true. Yeah. I think they will stop at nothing to stop them. Stop Trump.
It's sad, but it's the truth. It's the sad, but it's the truth. So I'm asking you, do your part.
So
when I
we can
do
do
these
this.
polls,
We
when
can do
this
this.
I don't know. I think
They say, how do you feel about the United
I think
States?
Vivek
And I say,
Ramaswamy is almost in on it.
fearful.
It's my job that you don't have to feel that.
He's not even looking at her when he hugs her. He's just looking through her. And she's looking up to him because she needs guidance.
In this country.
But we're losing.
Because she's genuinely afraid of what's going on in this country right now.
Hear that.
We need people like you. Young,
We're going to do
vibrant.
this. And that's what our founding fathers were.
Yes.
It's 1776.
We need Americans willing to stand up and fight, but we don't need Vivek Ramaswamy doing it for us.
About this country. I need your support on Monday night. You do this, I'm going to do my part.
Okay, you're picking at my shell. You are.
Yeah.
There were a number of other drugs that Vivek did this with and tried to flip them or raise the price of them after buying the patents to make just massive amounts of money with the original money given to him by all these startup investment funds. All right, I'm going to shut this down now. I'll be back probably later today at some point. Until then, peace. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for watching Command A HQs
with Brooke and Agent X.
We'll see you next time.